Welcome to the Power of Your Voice podcast with your host, Johnny Gorky. You have the power to overcome challenges and fears. Let my voice and the voice of many others show you how to transform these challenges into opportunities. To learn more about future podcasts and read episode show notes, check out my website at www.thepowerofyourvoice.com.
This is episode 9, and today's special guest is Kemuel Valdes, who is an exercise physiologist, author, and Miami photographer specializing in commercial, fitness, and artistic physique images. His work has been featured in numerous publications, and his image collections, Muse and Sculptured, are international collector's items. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Power of Your Voice podcast. This is my amazing friend Kemuel. He lives in Miami. He's an amazing photographer. Actually, I've known him for 12 years. And it's like, so when I first met him in Miami, I believe it was March of 2007. It's like when you first meet this guy, I know you can't see his face right now, but like when you first meet him, he just glows. His face just glows up. He's always smiling. He's in you just want to be around this guy. And I had the honor here today to interview him today. So the first question I have, you were born in Cuba. You moved to the United States at the age of 13. How was that transformation, and how did you overcome the language barrier in the new country?
Well, first of all, thank you for that amazing presentation.
There goes a smile.
And now I know that my face is always glowing. You don't know why, but I just have an oily face. That's why I'm always glowing. No. So yes, living in Cuba was a blessing, and anyone who escapes Cuba is usually quite happy and thankful. So it was not a bad transition for me. When we came to the U.S., my parents had many friends, and they were our extended family, so it was very welcoming. There were moments there when you feel that because you don't understand everything that's going on in terms of language, you might feel a little left out. And also, kids will make fun of your accent when you're learning to speak English. But at some point, you figure out that, please, everyone has an accent. If you're from the South, you have an accent. If you're from the North, you have an accent. If you're from the Midwest, you have an accent. So at some point, I got over that. And overall, I can't say that I had any traumatic experience. There have been places in the country that I felt less welcome than others, but overall, I felt just fine, and I loved it. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, well, and the beautiful thing is really any place can be a person's home.
I think having a ton of friends like here in Miami, it was the biggest thing. If we had arrived here and known no one, that probably would have been a completely different experience for us.
Yeah, but for you, I mean, you're an easy guy to become friends with. I mean, like, how many friends do you have? 2,000?
I do love to go around making friends, and I think it's good to have a network of people with similar feelings, similar outlook in life. And I do like to go around making friends. I'd rather go around making friends than making enemies, that's for sure. However, it's one thing to make new friends, and it's a different thing to arrive somewhere where you already have friends waiting for you. When we got to the airport, there were like 30 people there. So that felt very good.
Yeah, well, the amazing thing is it's not like trying to be a friend. It's actually being a friend, and that's exactly what you are. You are being a friend.
Yes, I would say that it's very important to be a friend.
Exactly. So in high school, you did figure drawing. Tell us about that, and how did you start your whole career into photography?
Well, I did love figure drawing, and I still love it. And I remember looking at Michelangelo and Da Vinci's work, and I found that very inspirational. However, I would also look at magazines, and I would find pictures to be very, very interesting. And deep inside, I always thought at some point I'm going to take pictures. I didn't know when or how I just had this feeling like one day I'm going to take pictures. So then one day I think, I don't know if my dad gave me $400 or if I had part of it and he gave me the other part, something like that. But I just went and bought a camera, and then I asked the people at the store, look, I have this vision. I would like to do something like this, like that. And they would give me ideas. I would go take pictures, come back to develop the film, and they would develop in a rush, and then we would look it over. And a lot of the people who'd be around would give their opinions, and many people would say, oh, they look like postcards. So that was very encouraging, and it motivated me to, at some point, start emailing brands and sending them my pictures and be like, I would love to, do business with you and take pictures for you.
Oh, wow.
And I was not getting any responses. So one day I did get a response, and I was over the moon. And
Wow.
it gave me the confidence to push it even farther and do it more.
But regardless, you kept on doing it and doing it and doing it until you got that one person. That's all it takes usually, too.
Yeah, I think when you're young and you want something, you don't think of the barriers, you don't think of it, you just like go for it. You probably also don't know what the barriers will be, so you're not faced by it. But I do remember that here in Miami, I didn't have a great reception when I went to some of the modeling agencies and stuff. I felt like people already had certain connections established, and I was discouraged by that. So what it motivated me was to shift towards cutting sort of the middleman or trying to have an agent or anything, and just seek work directly from brands and approach the clients directly. And so I still do that. So,
Wow.
you can't fall off the horse. By the way,
So,
when you said doing it and doing it and doing it, wow, there's a song that says that.
well, and that's the thing, because like sometimes people might reach out to one person, they get rejected and they quit. But regardless, you're like, you know what? I didn't hear anything, but I'm gonna keep on putting my name out there, and eventually you get somebody, and you did.
Yeah.
Which is just amazing. So, as this incredible photographer that you are, because you really, really are, where did you find your inspiration in the world of photography?
Well, initially I would look at other photographers' work. Like I would go to a bookstore and look at photography books, and that sort of stuff gives you it serves to sort of critique in your mind things that you like, that you don't like. But also, when I was taking pictures, I was also mixing my experience from figure drawing, and my point of view in terms of light and contrast and stuff like that. Then at some point, I felt like I should not look at other photographers' work because I was concerned that they might be influencing me too much, or that I might be copying their style per se. So I still, like, if I see someone's work, I look at it, but for the most part, when I'm taking pictures, I'm mostly concerned with overcoming whatever mistakes or whatever things I did in my previous shoot that I was like, I shouldn't have done that. So I always try to make it better. And I'm very analytical of my work. When I'm looking at my pictures, I'm always questioning if I'm shooting the same thing, if I am, sort of resting in my laurels and not really paying attention, or if I'm pushing myself. I love when I make some mistakes and then correct them and then arrive somewhere where the shoot becomes much more effective, where I get many more concepts done in less time. To me, that's very efficient, and it's a great sort of personal satisfaction. So when I'm taking pictures, I'm very focused on that.
Now, as a photographer who lives in Miami, Miami is beautiful. There's gorgeous people. There's lots of colors. There's great weather, great sunlight, all that kind of stuff. So do you find that's actually makes, as a photographer, easier, or does it make it more difficult?
Well, it helps a lot. It helps a lot because otherwise the alternative is to be inside a studio where you can still be very creative. However, there is something for, we're so affected by nature and the elements. blue skies and beautiful clouds and beautiful sunsets and sunrises and the ocean. So yes, it helps tremendously to live in a place where you have infinite locations and you don't need to be worrying about finding the right backdrop. Just step outside and you have the right backdrop. So it is tremendously helpful. However, it always comes down to what is it that you're shooting and what is the focal point of your work, or at the moment, whatever it is that you're shooting. And I think it's tremendously helpful to be very organized and either to have a mood board or a list of concepts that you're going for, even if you're leaving room for something to be, show up out of the blue. But if you have a guide, it is tremendously helpful wherever you're shooting, even if it's inside a studio.
Yeah, because, I was just thinking now, it's like, you might have someone that's listened to this and like, wow, I love photography, but I live in a place that's kind of challenging because I don't live by this beautiful beach and they're out in the middle of nowhere. How do you think that they might be able to overcome that challenge? Because really, you can find beauty in everything.
Well, for example, I think 2 weeks ago, I was shooting at this stylist apartment because it was pouring rain. It was absolutely pouring rain. And the challenge became, to have a wonderful photo shoot within a certain amount of space. And it is possible. You get very creative and you do it and you feel great. So I would say if someone lives in a place that is not as picturesque, they can still rise to the challenge. And then at some point in time, they will be somewhere else, but they will already have the experience. And this will make their job a lot easier and their appreciation and for the new place where they are. But I once read something from Michelangelo, who said that if people knew how hard he worked for his craft, they would not think he was that great at all. So I think hard work really is the key. You have to struggle, and then that gives you this real pride. And by that I mean not an empty pride. Sometimes you wonder, some people seem to be very proud, and you're like, what are they proud of? They have nothing to show for it. But when you have to struggle, then you have this wealth of experience with you that nothing can take that away from you, and it's very tangible. It shows, when someone, you walk into a kitchen and if someone is a cook or not, just the way they grab a knife.
Oh yeah.
So I think we should never be discouraged by circumstances. If anything, it just gives you an opportunity to be very creative and to rise to the occasion.
Wow. Well, and that's the thing. Sometimes, everything happens for a reason. And, by it raining and you have to do a photo shoot. And so inside, you might create such absolutely beautiful pictures that you may have never even created before because you weren't even thinking about that. You would think about shooting outside.
We did create very beautiful pictures, and it did help to have a wonderful model and a very helpful stylist. So it was a good team. And I would have loved to shoot outside in the rain too. I just didn't have the casing for the camera, and I couldn't get the lights wet. So, but I do find beauty in almost anything.
Yes. So you have 2 careers. What else do you do, and how are you able to manage 2? For some, this could seem like such a big challenge, and yet you're able to do both. How are you able to do 2 things that you absolutely love?
So when I started in photography, I was already in college, and I was going for exercise physiology. And many people were sort of wondering if I had to choose one or the other. But I just didn't feel like choosing. It didn't feel organic to me to choose one or the other. And later on, I was doing an internship. I met someone who had been a cardiologist and who was very depressed. He said to me that once he retired, his whole life had been his career. So when he retired, he felt this immense void. And I wrote that in my journal because I thought, my life is my life. what I do for money should be stuff that I enjoy, things that I find fulfilling or whatever. But I don't want to, whenever I do decide to retire or something, I want to still have my life. And sometimes having two careers feels like you're burning out of both ends. However, it also gives me an assortment of experiences, and it gives me a balance, and I like that. I get certain knowledge from photography, and I get certain knowledge from sports science that it contributes to, and it enriches my life. Let's put it that way. It enriches my life, and the only way to go about it is to be extremely organized with your time. To, there's a time to go on vacation and travel the world, but there's also a time to go to bed at 9:30 p.m. and wake up at 5 in the morning. And it is, I don't see it so much as a challenge anymore. I see it as a choice I've made, and I do like it. I like it very much. I like to wake up early, have a workout, get work done, and then around 5 or 6 p.m. just disconnect and have time to, hang out with my girlfriend, watch Netflix, swim, hang out with friends. So I tend to compartmentalize things so that there's a little bit of space for everything that matters to me.
Wow. So yeah, that is absolutely beautiful. I mean, like, some people, they might be like, well, this is what I do, but I've always wanted to do this. And it's amazing how you're able to do both, and yet you still have time to spend time with your amazing girlfriend. You still have time to hang out with friends, watch movies. You are literally living proof that you can do everything if you really, really want to. You just have to find the time, manage your time wisely.
Well, I should also say that I don't have kids. I think if I had kids, I probably would not have the same life, because I'm sure everything changes, the responsibilities change, the priorities change. And I should also say that even without kids, there are days when I don't get to do everything I want. There are days when, everything is flawless and everything is a schedule. And there are days that the schedule suffers and I end up going to bed at 11 p.m., very exhausted, very cranky, and maybe losing my voice. But those days make the other days a lot better.
As a photographer, some people may think it's all about having the best and most expensive equipment. Is this true? And how were you able to overcome this when you first started out? Because, that's a big thing. Some people are like, wow, I want to be a photographer, but I don't have, $5,000 to buy all this fancy light, these best cameras, the best lenses, all that kind of stuff.
That is a very, very good question. I like that question very much, because when you're starting out, you have this thirst for everything, and there are many things you don't know, and because you don't know them, you kind of assume, and many times you make the wrong assumption. And I remember once I was working in this set, and there was this huge crew and whatever, and all this equipment, but the work was really there was not a lot of imagination involved in it. It was all very set, very stale. And I was thinking, wow, all these resources and not a lot of imagination. Whereas when you're starting and you're struggling and you only have what you have to compensate. And you get very creative. If you don't have a reflector, you find a mirror, So I would say, I would compare it to driving a race car. If you are, a race car driver, it will help if you have a fast car, for sure. However, you also need to know how to drive. Because if you don't know how to drive, they can give you, a Lamborghini or a Ferrari and you'll just crash it. Currently, I feel that technology has gotten us to a point where most cameras are good these days. So if you know what you're doing in terms of lighting, you don't need to have the most expensive thing. Many photographers end up getting the most expensive things for many other reasons. personal preferences because they can afford it, etc., etc. And that's different topic. But you can take excellent pictures without having the most expensive equipment. It's only a matter of knowing your lighting and knowing exactly what you want to have, and therefore being able to build it with different tools.
Well, yeah, because as someone who's modeled in the past, it's like, sometimes you have people that are like, wow, that's such a beautiful picture. What kind of camera do you have? And the assumption is it's the camera that makes the good picture, but it's not. It's the photographer behind the camera. Because literally, you have some people that use really old cameras, and my gosh, they can take such beautiful pictures. I've seen people who've had literally like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in equipment, and the pictures are just like regular pictures. They're not, because as you said, you have to have that creativity.
Yep, I would definitely agree with that. And if the passion is gone, especially in art, the art will suffer. But if someone is inspired and they have the right skills, then the work will be wonderful.
So when you first started out as a photographer, how did you overcome your challenge of getting your first client?
I don't think I saw it so much as a challenge. I saw it as a natural progression. And I am the kind of person who thinks whenever you're meeting someone that you do have to prove myself. I do feel like I have to prove myself every time. And that does not come from low self-esteem or anything like that. It comes from this feeling that trust is something you earn. It's not something you request. When people say to me, trust me, automatically that means no. When people say trust me, it means no, because trust is something you earn. And therefore, I saw that as I'm new and I just have to take pictures and show them to people until I have enough that they will see something where they will see their product being in my picture, and they will identify with that and they'll be inspired by that, right? So it was just a matter of keep going, and then eventually you'll find someone that clicks with you. You just haven't found that person yet or that client yet. And yes, there's a lot of politics involved in business. Many times people do agree that you are the right person, but they already have a deal with someone else, or it's many other factors. So I try to always look at the big picture, but I didn't see it so much as a challenge. I just saw it as I'm taking pictures now and I have to get them out there. If I don't show them, how are they going to find them? And,
Well, yeah, because you get some people, they're like, okay, I'm going to buy all this equipment. I'm going to be a photographer now. Okay, now I got to find that first client who's going to pay me.
Well, money is, we need to eat. That's for sure. At the time, I wasn't so worried in terms of the financial aspect. I was thinking more of the acknowledgement. To me, having a client at the time meant, okay, I'm definitely doing something right now because these people believe in it, or they saw the marketability of it. So yes, I wanted to get paid, but more than anything at that time, I wanted to do something that it wasn't just me who liked it. I wanted to do something that a company would like, something that had enough artistic merit. And I was aware of artists who were starving artists because they didn't connect with an audience, and I didn't want that. So I felt that if I made images that had commercial viability, then one would lead to the other.
Well, like, for example, there's some photographers, when they first start out, they start shooting a lot of people for free, for nothing. And then they get to the point, it's like, when do you think I'm able to start charging people, and how much should I charge them? Like, when do you know, okay, you know what? I'm actually getting pretty good. I should start charging people for this.
That's a very good point, especially now that because of Instagram and many other media, it's a topic that comes up a lot. And in many ways, the market determines what people get paid, one. And two, demand is like the old law of supply and demand. When your work is sought after, you get to choose how much you're going to charge. If no one wants your work, you are the opposite end of the scale. But I would say it is important to take pictures, because when people think I'm taking pictures for free, you're not taking pictures for free. You're creating something if you're taking pictures that you want to take. If you're taking pictures that you don't want to take for free, then don't take them.
Exactly.
You should only take for free the pictures that you want to take, because you are rehearsing, you're improving your craft, and you're putting something out there to show. And those pictures speak more than 1,000 words on your behalf. People will see those pictures and they will decide how they feel about you and how they feel about your work. So I think that's what makes the difference. The difference will be if you're taking pictures that you want to take. And if you want to get paid, then you want to get paid by whom? What is your ideal client? And are you taking pictures that will attract those clients? Then everything makes sense. If you don't have that sort of mindset or focus, then it's time to get it. Who is it that you're going after? What are you creating for them? And where are you presenting it? Where are they going to find it? How are they going to see it?
Yeah, well, I think too, it's like, for photographers first start around there, start working with people and they're not charging them, you should still treat them as if you were getting paid, because that's the thing. Sometimes when people do something for free, like, treat it like a real job.
Oh, for sure. You have to do your best. If you do something half-assed, then, what do you expect? But I think more than anything, like, let's say someone wants to be a fashion photographer, but they are taking free pictures of their friends' kids. One thing is not going to lead to the other. So if you want to do fashion photography, go and start taking pictures of fashion. So even though you may not be getting paid, at least you're doing something that you could present towards your end. The same thing with sports photography.
So as a photographer, should a person chart should they pick a certain niche? Like, for example, you do a lot of swimwear. So like, should someone like, hey, I like architectural work. Should they kind of focus just on that? That way you master your craft in that one specific genre, or, how does that really work?
Okay. Although most artists do not like to be pigeonholed, in the end, we do have to find an area that is the most appealing to us or that we want to stay on. So, if you want to be working for National Geographic, then you need to be taking pictures that could be on National Geographic and not wasting time doing sweet 16s and weddings, because one thing doesn't lead to the other. And we are what we do. So that's basically the way I would say it. We are what we do. So think of what you want to be and then do that.
So yeah, become a master at the genre that that you want to get into.
Yeah.
So you have this amazing gift to bring out the best in people through the pictures you take of them. How do you do this?
John, you're so funny. I don't know. I like to. Sometimes it backfires. Like if a model has a personality that is not flexible, chances are we're not going to work well. And to every photo shoot, I come with a set of concepts, and I show people the concept beforehand, so we're all on the same page. So I think that helps, because when someone knows what's expected of them, they give you their best, and they also have it. If they don't want to do it, then they don't do it. So it helps when everyone's on the same page. It also helps to be alert, and I try to capture things that happen very organically, or that a gesture, a certain look, sometimes I have to adjust the concept to fit the models better. And let's say, for example, sometimes I have this idea of someone jumping over a rock or something like that. And in my mind, it looked great because of the clouds and the sun and the light. But then it turns out that person doesn't really know how to jump. And every time I ask them to jump, what ends up happening is they look clumsy. And instead of just staying there and wasting time doing that, I'll be flexible and I'm like, you know what, forget that. Let's have you sit down. You look better. You look better sitting down. You know. Yeah. So, and vice versa. Some people are extremely athletic, and you thought that you were just gonna get one picture jumping, and you realize they're like Bruce Lee, and you're like, wait a minute, you're not sitting down. We're gonna get all sorts of jumping pictures out of you.
Yeah,
So
but
I think it helps to be flexible and to recognize the skills that people bring to the table.
yeah, but the amazing thing is, you have that gift where you're able to, because sometimes some photographers, they might get stuck. So you're working with somebody and like, oh, they can't do this. You're able to see this. Okay, well, you know what? You're not able to do this. Let's do this because you see that is able to work.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a gift, but I definitely think that it helps to be flexible. Yes, and I'm always ready to improvisation. Maybe the part of it is growing up in Cuba. In Cuba we never had whatever you needed. Chances are you didn't have it. So if you were not quick to improvise, then you would just be frustrated day in and day out. So I am definitely very used to improvisation. I think in life in general,
Hey,
chances are things are not going to be the way you want them. So you have to adapt, you have to improvise. And I think that's a good skill.
wow, being very creative. Yes. What does it take to become a successful photographer?
Whew. Um, I guess first of all, it depends on your definition of success. But if we go by the general definition, it would be a lot of hard work and also a lot of marketing. In business, you can have the most amazing product, but if you don't market it, no one's going to buy it because no one knows about it. So you have to be constantly doing marketing and putting yourself out there and having something to show. And we all know, we can all think of certain pop stars who everyone agrees don't really sing, don't really dance, and yet they are quite famous and making tons of money. And by those standards, are quite successful. And it's because they have a very, very good marketing team. Whereas there are other there are other artists who maybe have a greater voice and are way better dancers, but they're just not so good at marketing. So if someone is concerned with doing business as a photographer, my humble advice would be, yes, you have to take good pictures, but you also have to do a lot of self-marketing.
So for someone first starting out, should they use social media? Should they put ads in newspapers, magazines, use Instagram?
Social media right now is where it's at. When you have top brands using social media, it's because they recognize the power of social media. And you have to also look at what it is that you're putting out there and what are the best venues for it. And also spend some time thinking who are your ideal clients and where is it that those clients hang out online, let's say. So put your work in front of them wherever they tend to be. So it's just a matter of sitting down and doing some research on your own behalf.
Wow, that's good. So what do you think this world needs more of?
Whew.
So
Oh my
that's a tough question.
We're going from. I want to say I don't think I have all the answers, by the way. And I'm flattered that you think I'm so amazing, but I don't think I have all the answers. But I would say, off the top of my head, this world needs more empathy. We're all very concerned with what we want, what we need, and sometimes we get so concerned with our own selves that we could be very uh, insensitive to each other. And when we work together, when we are kind to each other, when we take the time to respect each other's space, whether it is at the gym and not, being a king of the jungle all the time, but respect that there's other people there, that there are other people who need them wait, that you shouldn't leave stuff behind, that no one wants to sit in your messy chair that you left behind full of sweat. Whether it is being on the train and realize that people also have a busy day and people are also stressed and they don't really care to hear your music, or if it's at the supermarket and you put the damn phone on off the speaker and just bring it to your damn ear because no one wants to hear your conversation. Little details. Just be respectful of each other's space, and it makes life so much better. We all like to be respected, and therefore we should all respect others. I think empathy goes a long way. I know that we're living in times when we lack, I guess, some examples of empathy. We have presidents who are using the language that they want to use and behaving the way that they want to behave. And it sort of sets the tone for the country and for the rest of the world. However, we can be responsible as individuals and carry ourselves with a certain dignity. At least strive to be our very best. And if we try at the very least, then we're already doing something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the truth is everything starts from us as individuals.
I mean, no one is perfect, right? So if you start with that, it should be encouraging to do your very best because you're not perfect to begin with. So don't be out there doing your worst.
Yeah. No. So one day you will be 100 years old and you're going to look back on life. What do you want to see?
Oh man, I hope I don't have Alzheimer's. I hope I have wonderful memories, tons of memories that I can just close my eyes and feel like I'm back there, surrounded by friends and laughter and jokes, lots of inside jokes, like lots of silly jokes. There's lots of good memories, and more than anything, I don't want to see missed opportunities. I don't want to see missed opportunities. I want to see that I worked hard, that I was focused, and I was ready when the opportunities presented themselves, and I was able to pounce on them. I definitely want to see that.
Wow. So what's something or a few things that you would love for people to take away from this episode of this podcast, of the Power of Your Voice podcast?
I would love to, I don't know, I'm very inspired many times when I'm listening to blogs online and things like that. And many times people say something that just clicks with you. And it reminds you of something that was already in the back of your head and you kind of forgot about it. Or maybe it brought a smile to your face or a chuckle or something. So I don't know how this is going to affect people, but I sincerely hope that if anything, they found it entertaining, that it reminded them of something good or maybe brought a smile to their faces. I hope just like so many have inspired me, that maybe something we discussed inspires them. Hopefully, then it will be a good thing then.
Yes. So for anyone listening to this podcast, how can they get in contact with you if they want to hire you as a photographer, if they want to buy your pictures, all that kind of stuff? How can they reach out to you?
Well, my brand is valdesarthouse. That's V as in Victory, Valdes with an S. And you can find me on Instagram. You can find, the moment you type it in on Google, you'll get my Instagram, you'll get my website as well. And these days, Instagram has become really like the number one hub, especially for images and as a photographer. So that's for real.
Wow. And it's amazing how that shifts, because it used to be MySpace and then it was Facebook and now it's Instagram.
Yeah, it's a changing world. Things keep moving along and you never know where it's going to be, but I guess you have to be, flexible and adapt.
Exactly.
But for Instagram, it's about images. It just makes perfect sense for someone who deals with images to be there.
Especially, being a photographer is perfect for you.
Yes.
And it's free.
Well, it is.
Well, thank you so very much for your time, man. I love you. You're an amazing guy. Really, really are.
Thank you, Janice, and I thank you for starting this blog, and I wish you a lot of success. I think it's very nice to engage in conversations and and be thoughtful. And sometimes when someone asks you a question, it just puts you in a situation where you have to think about what you're going to say, and it makes you think, and that's good. We should all be thinking. So
Yeah.
I look forward to listening to more of your podcast, and whether I'm stuck in traffic or something like that, food for thought. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and thank you for having me as well.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Johnny here. Thank you for listening to the Power of Your Voice podcast. I'd love to get your feedback on this episode and how it impacted you. If someone in your life could benefit from this episode, share it with them. Check out thepowerofyourvoice.com to read show notes, leave a comment on the blog page, and to stay updated on all future episodes, subscribe to this podcast and leave a 5-star review. Thank you for your love and support. What a lot of you guys don't know, listen to this episode, is yesterday we recorded this entire episode, but guess what? I accidentally forgot to hit the record button. So it's so important to know when you're starting a podcast or starting anything, sometimes we make mistakes. But the beautiful thing is mistakes happen, and we can all learn from those mistakes. So because of the amazing friend that I have here, Kemuel, yesterday he challenged me, because initially what you don't know is I only asked him a few questions. And he challenged me. He's like, you know what? You're going to ask me 10 questions. So the amazing thing is when something like that happens, don't quit. You get to flip it. And the amazing thing is when you have good friends, you know what? They understand, you make a mistake. Mistakes happen. And this is how we all get to learn from these things. So it's like, it's so important to let you know, don't quit because you make a mistake. Don't beat yourself up. We all make mistakes, but you can learn from those things. And beautiful things happen, because if it wasn't for this, I would have never known that I should have asked him more questions. So it's like, don't quit. Thank you so much for allowing me to re-record this, or I should say record for the first time, the second time.
Thank you for all the fun questions.
Thank you.
All right, my friend.